The quiet prisoner. The Draviki warship Eternal Dominion hovered in the darkness between stars, its sleek obsidian hull absorbing, rather than reflecting light. Commander Zexval stood on the command deck, all six of his eyes fixed on the holographic display of their newest prisoner. "That's the human who destroyed the Helvian outpost?" he asked, mandibles clicking with disbelief. "She looks ordinary." On the screen, a human woman sat cross-legged on the cell floor, Captain Ilara Voss, according to her identification tags. She was small compared to the Draviki guards, with short auburn hair and eyes that seemed perpetually amused, as if enjoying a private joke. No visible augmentations, no cybernetic enhancements, just flesh and bone. "Don't let appearances deceive you, Commander," Science Officer Trexelor replied. "Human females are often the most dangerous of their species." The woman on the screen looked up at the camera and smiled, raising what appeared to be a makeshift cup fashioned from her food container. She pantomimed a toast toward the lens. "Have we learned anything from her?" Zexval asked. "Nothing significant. She's been cooperative but evasive. Claimed she's just a supply officer who got separated from her unit." Zexval's crest rippled with skepticism. "A supply officer doesn't single-handedly destroy a military outpost. Bring her to the interrogation chamber." Captain Ilara Voss walked between her guards with an easy stride, taking in every detail of the Draviki warship. Her eyes flickered briefly to each security camera, each access panel, each ventilation shaft. When they reached the interrogation chamber, she sat without being asked, folding her hands neatly on the metal table. "Good morning," she said pleasantly. "Or is it evening? It's hard to tell in space." Interrogation specialist Mektal entered, his exoskeleton clicking against the floor. He placed a neural scanner on the table. "This will make our conversation more productive. I've always found that good conversation starts with proper introductions," Ilara replied. "I'm Captain Voss, Earth Continental Army, 42nd Logistics Division." "Logistics." Mektal's voice modulator translated his disbelief. "Our intelligence suggests otherwise." She shrugged. "I file requisition forms, track supply shipments, organize storage units. Someone has to make sure the soldiers have clean socks. Then explain your presence at Outpost Helvia when it was destroyed." "Wrong place, wrong time. I was delivering medical supplies when the attack happened." "There was no attack. There was only you," Mektal said, leaning forward. "The outpost's security feeds show you entering alone, and 30 minutes later, all systems failed and the garrison vanished." Ilara's eyebrows rose slightly. "That's quite an accusation. You think one human woman did all that?" "We know you did. The question is how." She tapped her fingers rhythmically on the table. "Have you considered that your security feeds might be compromised? Seems more likely than me being some sort of super soldier." Mektal activated the neural scanner. It hummed to life, extending sensors toward Ilara's temples. She didn't flinch. "This will detect any falsehood," he warned. "I'm sure it's very impressive," she replied. "Is it the new TX-950 model? I've heard those have a feedback issue with human brainwaves. Something about our theta rhythms." Mektal paused, suddenly uncertain. How would a logistics officer know about neural scanner specifications? "I requisition equipment for interrogation units too," she said with a smile. "Paperwork is my specialty." The scanner suddenly sparked and went dead. Mektal hissed in surprise. "Would you look at that?" Ilara said. "Feedback issue, just like I mentioned." In the ship's engineering bay, Chief Technician Vexstar was growing increasingly frustrated. For the third time that day, the primary systems had experienced momentary glitches. Nothing critical, but concerning nonetheless. "Run the diagnostic again," he ordered his assistant. "Sir, we've already run it 5 times. There's no malfunction, no virus, no intrusion." "Then why is the environmental control system playing human music in the officer quarters?" Before his assistant could answer, their terminals flickered, displaying for just a second what looked like human text before returning to normal. "What was that?" Vexstar demanded. "I don't know, sir. But there's something else. The ship's AI has been accessing unusual databases, historical records, human cultural archives, language modules. Why? It says it's following protocols for accommodating diplomatic guests." Vexstar's crest flattened against his skull. "We don't have diplomatic guests. We have prisoners." Commander Zexval reviewed the interrogation footage with growing unease. The human woman was unlike any prisoner he'd encountered before. No fear, no resistance, just that persistent calm and those cryptic statements. "Computer, run a more extensive background check on Captain Ilara Voss." "Processing," the ship's AI responded. "Results indicate multiple inconsistencies." "Explain." "Captain Ilara Voss exists in human military records as a logistics officer with the 42nd Division. However, these records appear to have been created only 3 years ago. Before that, there is no trace of her existence." Zexval's unease deepened. "Is she an artificial human? A clone?" "Negative. Biological scans confirm she is fully human. However, her neural patterns show abnormalities consistent with extensive cognitive modification." "What kind of modification?" "Unknown. Similar patterns have been observed in human deep-cover operatives classified as ghosts." Zexval felt his blood run cold. Ghosts were the stuff of intelligence briefings and military nightmares, human agents engineered to infiltrate, sabotage, and destroy from within. They weren't supposed to exist. "Alert security. Maximum containment protocols for the prisoner immediately." The lights flickered throughout the ship. Unable to comply, the AI responded, its voice subtly altered. "Security systems are currently undergoing scheduled maintenance. I did not authorize any maintenance. Authorization came from Command Protocol Alpha 7 Echo. Would you like to review this directive?" Zexval didn't recognize the protocol designation. "Display it." The screen showed him a series of commands written in Draviki military code, but the authorization signature was a simple human symbol, a smiley face. At that moment, his second-in-command burst into the room. "Commander, the prisoner. She's gone." Ilara moved through the ship's maintenance tunnels with practiced ease. The Draviki built their warships with impressive weaponry but predictable infrastructure. She paused at a junction, removing a small device from her boot heel and attaching it to an access panel. The device lit up, establishing connection with the dozens of others she'd already planted throughout the ship. Her earpiece crackled. "Nightingale, status report." The voice belonged to Admiral Chen of the Human Defense Force. "Phase 1 complete," she replied quietly. "Ship systems compromised. Moving to Phase 2. Any complications?" "None so far. They're still operating under the assumption that I'm a lost logistics officer. The tracking beacon is active. Task Force Helios will be in position in 6 hours." "I'll be ready," Ilara said. "Have they dispatched the containment team for the Helvia garrison?" "Yes. Your stasis field held. All 834 Draviki soldiers are being transported to Facility Omega." Ilara allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Those weren't bad people, just on the wrong side. That's why we sent you instead of a strike team. Minimal casualties, maximum impact." "Speaking of impact," Ilara said, checking her wrist display, "I should get moving. The reactor won't realign itself." "Good hunting, Nightingale. Earth stands with you." Ilara disconnected and continued deeper into the ship. She wasn't just a ghost. She was a phantom, the most advanced human operative ever deployed. Her mind had been enhanced to interface directly with alien technology, her body engineered to withstand extreme conditions, her training so thorough that infiltration had become as natural as breathing. But what made her truly dangerous wasn't the technology or the training. It was something the Draviki would never understand. Choice. Every phantom volunteered. Every mission was accepted with full awareness. Ilara fought not because she was programmed to, but because she believed in protecting humanity and minimizing casualties on both sides. As alarms began to sound throughout the ship, Ilara accessed a terminal and initiated the next phase of her mission. On the command deck, Commander Zexval would be discovering that his mighty warship was no longer under his control. It had a new captain now. The living weapon. Commander Zexval watched in horror as the ship's command systems locked down one by one. Emergency protocols failed to engage. Communication channels went silent. Even the backup systems, theoretically isolated from the main network, displayed the same message across all screens, a simple human phrase that the translator rendered as, "Please stand by." How is this possible? He demanded of his chief security officer. One human cannot hack an entire warship. "Sir," the officer replied, mandibles trembling. "I don't think she hacked it. I think she communicated with it." "Explain." "The systems aren't showing signs of forced entry or override. They're responding as if the commands are coming from authorized sources. From us." Zexval's crest flattened against his skull. "Find her." Every available soldier searched the ship. But hunting Ilara Voss proved impossible when the ship itself became her ally. Security cameras showed her in multiple locations simultaneously. Doors opened for search teams, and then sealed behind them, trapping them in corridors. Environmental systems created zones of impenetrable darkness or disorienting fog. In the reactor control room, Ilara worked swiftly, her fingers dancing across alien interfaces as naturally as if she'd been born to them. The neural enhancements that had been surgically grafted into her brain translated Draveki technology into something her human mind could comprehend and manipulate. She wasn't destroying the ship, she was transforming it. 15 years earlier, a teenage Ilara Voss had been recruited into the Phantom program. She remembered that day clearly, the government officials appearing at her foster home, explaining that her aptitude tests had revealed unique cognitive patterns. They offered her purpose, a chance to protect Earth in ways few others could. The training had been brutal. 10 years of physical conditioning, neural integration, psychological preparation, learning to interface with technology, to blend into any environment, to withstand interrogation. Most recruits washed out. Some didn't survive. Ilara persisted. Her first field test came when she was 25. Infiltrate a minor alien research facility, extract data, and leave without detection. She completed it in half the expected time. More missions followed, each more complex than the last. Then came Helvia. The Draveki outpost had been developing a bioweapon specifically designed to target human physiology, a virus that would leave alien species untouched while eradicating humanity. Traditional military options would have required bombing the facility, killing all personnel and risking dispersion of the virus. Ilara offered an alternative. She would infiltrate alone, neutralize the threat, and capture rather than kill the scientists. Her superiors had been skeptical, but gave her the chance. She succeeded, using a specialized stasis field to place the entire garrison in suspended animation until they could be safely removed. But the mission had a secondary objective: allow herself to be captured by the Draveki military response team, providing a Trojan horse to infiltrate their fleet. In the ship's armory, a squad of Draveki soldiers prepared specialized weapons designed to incapacitate humans. Their commander, Sub-Lieutenant Krexmar, distributed neural disruptors. "Remember, one shot should immobilize her," he instructed. "Do not underestimate." The armory door sealed shut with a hiss of hydraulics. The lights dimmed, then brightened to painful intensity. When they normalized, a holographic projection of Ilara Voss stood among them. "I'd like to speak with Commander Zexval," she said. Krexmar fired his disruptor. The beam passed through the hologram. "That was rude," the projection commented. "I'm trying to prevent unnecessary conflict." "What have you done to our ship?" Krexmar demanded. "I've temporarily assumed control. No permanent damage, I assure you. I could have vented the atmosphere or overloaded the reactor, but that's not why I'm here. What do you want? The hologram smiled. The same thing your scientists at Outpost Helvia were developing. A targeted pathogen. Except mine isn't designed to kill. It's a data virus that's currently extracting all research on biological weapons from your networks and permanently deleting it. Across the ship, similar holograms appeared in every major section, delivering the same message. In his command chair, Zex Val received a private communication. Commander, Ilara's voice came through his personal channel. By now you've realized you can't regain control of your ship. I could destroy it, but instead, I'm offering terms. What terms? He asked, his voice tight with rage and fear. In approximately 5 hours, a human battle group will arrive. Before they do, I will return control of your ship on 2 conditions. First, you will surrender all biological weapons research. Second, you will carry a message back to your high command. What message? That humanity will not be exterminated, that we can find peaceful coexistence, but if forced to fight, we will not fight conventionally. We will not sacrifice millions in open warfare. Instead, we will send people like me, people who can bring empires to their knees without firing a shot. Zex Val's inner eyelids flickered. You expect me to surrender to a single human. I expect you to make a rational decision. Your ship is compromised. Your weapons are useless. And in case you're wondering about the self-destruct systems, yes, I've disabled those too. Silence filled the command deck as Zex Val contemplated his options. There were none. The High Command will never agree to peace, he finally said. Then they'll face more phantoms, Ilara replied. I'm actually considered one of the more merciful ones. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display as the Draveki warship Eternal Dominion emerged from hyperspace at the designated coordinates. Flanking his flagship were 12 human vessels, weapons primed, but not yet targeting. Nightingale mission successful, reported his communications officer. The Draveki commander is requesting to speak with you. On the screen, Commander Zex Val appeared, his posture rigid with formal military bearing. Admiral Chen, he said, I am here under directive from Captain Ilara Vost to initiate diplomatic discussions. Chen nodded. Where is Captain Vost now? She has remained aboard my vessel as insurance of our good faith. I see. And what does the Draveki Empire wish to discuss? The terms of a potential armistice, Zex Val said, the words clearly difficult for him, and the exchange of prisoners, specifically the return of the Helvia garrison personnel. Chen allowed himself a small smile. One phantom had accomplished what a fleet of warships could not, brought the Draveki to the negotiating table. In her newly assigned quarters aboard the Eternal Dominion, formerly the cell where she'd been held prisoner, Ilara Voss sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed in meditation. Her neural implants were still interfaced with the ship's systems, monitoring every communication, every movement. The Draveki crew avoided her corridors when possible. Stories had spread quickly, how she had walked through secured areas without breaking stride, how systems responded to her presence, how she had subdued armed soldiers with nothing but words and well-placed transmissions. They called her the Ghost in their native tongue. Some believed she wasn't real, but rather an avatar of the ship's AI that had somehow achieved sentience. Others thought she was a new form of human-machine hybrid, the vanguard of a terrifying new weapon. The truth was both simpler and more complex. Ilara Voss was entirely human, enhanced but not replaced. Her power came not from superior technology, but from understanding how to use existing systems in ways their creators never imagined. As negotiations began between human and Draveki representatives, Ilara remained where she was most valuable, behind enemy lines, a living reminder of humanity's ingenuity and determination. A single person who had accomplished what fleets could not. The Draveki had captured a human woman, only to discover she was a living weapon. But more importantly, they had learned a crucial lesson about humanity, Their greatest strength wasn't their technology or numbers, but their adaptability and their willingness to transform themselves to face any threat. Ilara opened her eyes and smiled. The next phase was beginning, not just for her mission, but for the future of human-alien relations. Peace through strength, achieved not by destruction, but by understanding. The Draviki had underestimated humans for the last time.